All right, use case number 4, analyze sentiment. So I'm talking about sentiment analysis in this one. So sentiment analysis is used really to learn about your customer's experience with you, or learn how they feel about a certain product or service, right? Super, super important. Generally speaking, we see 2 types of sentiment analysis that's used in the market today. Now, most vendors use this first type, and it's called rule-based sentiment analysis. So with rule-based, basically what you have to do is you have to first set up your list of good and bad words, right? For example, if you want the word banana to reflect as a bad word, you have to set it up to reflect as such, right? Now, a couple of issues with that. So, I mean, first of all, the configuration of the list of good and bad words is going to take a considerable amount of time and a considerable amount of consideration, right? It's going to take you a long time to think of that list. And then number 2, that list has to be constantly adjusted, right? So both of these things lead to a lower accuracy with regard to the true sentiment score. Now, the second type of sentiment analysis that we see used in the market is called NLP sentiment analysis, or natural language processing. So NLP sentiment analysis, it's one of the latest developments in AI, and it provides a much, much higher accuracy than traditional rule-based sentiment analysis. So with NLP, first of all, one of the main benefits is that there's no configuration required. It's ready to use just right out of the box. And additionally, so NLP is going to provide a much higher accuracy than rule-based, because NLP can detect things like sarcasm. It can detect things like context. And this is super important, right? Because, you know, certain words can mean more than one thing. You know, for example, like, you know, the cool kids will say this is tight, right? And that means, you know, this is cool or this is good. And whenever I say tight, I'm referring to my jeans because I'm gaining weight and I need to stop eating fast food, right? The word tight means 2 different things. So MiaRec sentiment analysis. So how do we use it? Why do we use it? So really, again, you're trying to figure out your customers. So you can think of it as almost like a real or live time survey. So like, how many of us have ever been in that situation where we call into our, you know, service provider like Verizon or our cable company, and they ask us to take a survey at the end of the call, right? All of us have been in that situation. So the reason why you're being asked to take a survey is because the company is trying to learn about your customer experience, right? They want to know how you feel about them. They're trying to figure you out, essentially. So customer feedback, it's essential, right, to any company if they ever want to have a chance of improving the overall customer experience. However, sorry, there's several pitfalls to the take a survey approach. Now, first of all, hardly anyone's going to do it, right? Most of us are off the phones as soon as our issue is resolved. Now, number 2, the other problem with the take a survey approach is, you know, the true emotion that you were feeling while you were on the call with the representative talking about your issue or talking about the product. The true emotion's now gone by the time you're taking that survey, right? You know, maybe they fixed your issue, so when you're taking the survey, you're not as upset as you were when you were on the call. Or maybe they didn't fix your issue, and now you're even more upset than you were when you're on the call. You know, either way, it's skewed, right? So again, there's 2 main issues with the take a survey approach. You know, number 1, only a fraction of the calls are actually going to get a survey response. And number 2, again, the responses are skewed because the true emotion that you're experienced during the call, it's gone. You're doing the survey after the fact, right? So with sentiment analysis, with MiaRec, I mean, not only are you capturing the emotion of every single call, but you're also capturing the emotion of the moment when the agents are actually interacting with your customers, right? So let me show you how we do this in MiaRec. So let me open this up for you. All right, so here you can see an example of the sentiment analysis, right? Here's the sentiment score. You can also see it here. So another thing that is common that you're going to see in the industry is there's a lot of vendors that score their calls for sentiment with a single score for the entire call, right? Now you can see here we have 2 different scores, one for the customer and one for the agent. So The reason why that's important, why that's not preferred, is with a single score of the call, that's not going to give you a full and complete picture as to why that call was bad, right? It leaves, or bad or good. It leaves a lot of questions, like, was that call good or bad because the agent was not saying the right things? Was it bad because the customer was complaining? You just don't know, right? So with MiaRec, all of our calls and recordings are diarized. So it's recorded on two different channels for the customer and the agent. So because of that, now we can give you a sentiment score for both the customer and also the agent, right? Now, another super helpful portion to MiaRec's sentiment analysis is the fact that the transcript is color-coded, right? MiaRec automatically is going to highlight the portions of the transcript that directly impact the sentiment score. So now, by simply scanning the transcript, you can easily see if this is a good or bad call, right? I mean, just looking at this, I see a lot of red in the text, so I can see here that's just clearly a bad call, right? And also, like I mentioned earlier, MiaRec, it's scoring every single call for sentiment, and because of this, we provide a sentiment dashboard. So let me open that up for you really quickly here. So now, because every call is being scored for sentiment, you're going to be provided with clear visibility on how your contact center is performing with regard to sentiment, right? You have a clear view of all your good calls. You have a clear view of all your bad calls, when they happened, and it shows where they came from too. So you can see which department it came from. So again, similar to the auto QA, you can see if there's any particular like problem departments. And then you can break that down even further and look, if this one department is having a lot of problem calls, we can break it down in a more granular view, and we can look and see if that's coming from a particular agent too, because it's broken down by agent, right? So this is an extremely helpful tool because, again, it solves those two issues that I was saying about the survey approach, right? All of the calls are being scored for sentiment, and they're being scored in the time that the customer is actually feeling the emotion, right? So you really do get a clear and complete picture of how your customers are feeling towards you or your contact center or your business, your products, your services, and all of that. All right. Now, while sentiment analysis, obviously, extremely valuable tool, what really makes it valuable is when you combine it with our fifth and our final use case, which is topics. And we're going to get into that in just a moment, right after this. But that does it for sentiment analysis.